Tank is not the most exciting or highest damaging class in Hypixel Skyblock, but it is the laziest class and it's one of the cheaper classes, so today we'll be going over the complete floor by floor progression guide to the tank class. Firstly, let's go over your job as a tank. In floors 1 through 6, your goal should just be to stay near your teammates as much as possible, primarily in the boss room, and you should be trying to do as many secrets as possible before the boss room. Also, as a tank, you generally want to wear your tank set in the boss room, but while you're in the main dungeon, so that you can deal some damage, you might want to use a berserker set. Now let's specifically go over each floor's gear in detail. For the entrance floor, you can pretty much just use whatever armor you want. But if you want a bit of extra effective health, then I recommend going for a full set of old dragon armor. The old dragon armor has decent effective health for early game due to the full set bonus Old Blood, because it increases the strength of certain enchants such as growth and protection. For your weapon for the entrance, I recommend using the undungeonized aspect of the dragons because it won't have any dungeon level requirement and it deals decent damage. However, it does have a combat level 18 requirement. For your pet, I highly recommend getting a blue whale pet even if you can't afford a legendary, because a rare blue whale pet still has the ability Bolt. Bolt gives you 1 defense for every 30 health if you have the blue whale at level 100. For the entrance floor, as a tank, your main goal will be to keep other people alive, so just follow everyone else around and try and keep them within 30 blocks of you so that you tank 80% of the damage they take. For floors 1 through 4, you'll be using similar gear on each floor, so I'll group them all together. Once you've reached Catacombs level 2, you can upgrade from your old dragon armor to heavy armor. This armor set will be dungeonized, so now you have the option of putting stars on it for some extra stats. But you also might just want to save up your essence for later. For floor 1, you can keep using your aspect of the dragons, but once you've completed floor 2, you can upgrade to the next weapon, the adaptive blade. This sword will be very powerful as a tank because when you hold it, it gives you 100 extra defense, 5 vitality, and 5 true defense. The biggest part here is the extra defense, so whenever you want to be a bit more tanky, just hold your sword and you'll get the extra effective health. For your pet for these floors, I still recommend using the blue whale due to its incredible stats. For floor 5, you have a couple of options for your armor. There are 2 main options, either dungeonized old dragon armor, or 2/4 shadow assassin with a super heavy chestplate and a mender fedora. For the old dragon armor set, you need catacombs level 15, and for the other set, you'll need catacombs level 16. The shadow assassin set will be better for effective health and damage, but it will also be more expensive than the old dragon set. The old dragon set, on the other hand, is worse, but you could just stick to your old dragon set until floor 6 is unlocked for necromancer lord armor. For your weapon, you should probably be upgrading it to the livid dagger by now, because the livid dagger is an incredible weapon for the price. It deals a decent amount of single hit damage, but what really makes it powerful is the fact that it has a bonus 50% attack speed. This makes it better than most other weapons around this stage of the game, and it's still affordable. And for your pet, you can keep using the blue whale as always. Floor 6 is where you'll really be getting some major upgrades to your tank setup. The next armor set is unlocked on this floor and it's Necromancer Lord armor. It has much more effective health than all your previous sets, so you'll use 3/4 Necromancer Lord armor with a mender fedora for the extra vitality and mending. For your weapon for this floor, you have many different options. You can stick to your livid dagger from floor 5, or you could upgrade to one of the following depending on how much money you have. Either a Flower of Truth, Juju Shortbow, Axe of the Shredded, or a Giant Sword. Going in order, the Flower of Truth is the cheapest and most cost-effective upgrade. It will be better for clearing than the Livid Dagger, and it will also deal a decent amount of single hit damage. Next, the Juju Shortbow requires Enderman Slayer level 5, so this bow is definitely not required, but it is always an option because of its incredible damage. The Axe of the Shredded will deal incredible damage to zombies, and it's very useful in the floor 6 boss room due to its ability to be thrown at its enemies and pierce through all of them, but it does cost a lot more than the previous options. Now for the final weapon, the Giant Sword. This weapon is certainly not required for floor 6 because of its ridiculous price tag, but it is one of the more powerful damage weapons in the game, so it is always an option if money's not a factor for you. And finally, for your pet, you can of course keep the blue whale. Now for floor 7, you'll be unlocking some of the best tank armor in the entire game. Goldor armor. You can use 3/4 Goldor and a Reaper mask because it will provide incredible effective health. For the Reaper mask, you could also use a Mender crown instead, but in most ways the Reaper mask is better other than the fact that you need Revenant Slayer level 7 to use it. And of course, don't forget to put stars on your set and Hot Potato Bucket, along with all the other things that we'll talk about later, such as enchants and reforges. For your weapon, you have even more choices than last time. You can use any assortment of the previously mentioned weapons, or you can upgrade to either an Estrella or a Terminator bow. Neither of these are necessary for beating floor 7 as a tank because of their huge price tag, but they certainly will help if you happen to have the money lying around. Also, the Estrella requires floor 7 completion, while the Terminator requires Void Gloom Slayer level 7. But keep in mind the Terminator is one of the best damage and clearing weapons for you in dungeons. And for your pet, you can keep the Blue Whale. For the floor 7 boss room, your job will be a bit more complicated. In the first stage, you need to aggro Maxor and stand on the back of the conveyor belt with Maxor in the beam. In Storm phase, you need to get Storm's aggro and get just next to the pillar so that Storm is directly under the pillar. In the Goldor phase, you mainly just need to do the puzzles, but sometimes, depending on your party, the tank is expected to do device. And finally, Necron phase. In Necron phase, you first need to get aggro until he moves to the middle platform, and once he's in the middle, just go to middle and attack him until you get that S+ and drop your Necron handle first try. For Master Mode, you'll be using similar gear for each floor. You'll just be using better upgraded versions of that gear for each floor, so I'll group all of Master Mode into this section. For your armor, you still want to be using 3/4 Goldor with a Reaper mask, just make sure to get as many Master Stars as you can afford on it. For your weapon, you'll be needing an Estrella, especially for the later floors, to be able to tank the damage you'll be taking. But you should also probably have a Terminator for dealing some damage. And of course, for your pet, you can keep the Blue Whale. Now let's go over all of your Reforges and Ultimate Enchants for your armor and weapons. For your armor, get the Giant Reforge because it's the best in the game for effective health, but if you can't afford it yet, then you should go for Refined or Heavy. For the Ultimate Enchant, either get Last Stand or Legion, but preferably Legion. For your weapon, get the Fabled Reforge unless you're using the Estrella, in which case you want Suspicious. And for the Ultimate Enchant, go for Soul Eater. For your pet items, you won't be needing a Dwarf Turtle Helmet like the other classes because as a tank, you already don't take knockback. So instead of a Shelmet, you can either go for a pet item that gives you defense or one that gives you damage. If you want extra defense, then go for either a Hardened Scale or Reinforced Scale. But if you want extra damage, then go for either a Crochet Tiger plushie or a Spooky Cupcake. For your equipment, you can choose from either the melee setup or mage setup depending on what weapon you're using. For the melee setup, you'll want 3/4 Molten equipment with a Gauntlet of Contagion, but if you're going for the mage equipment, then just switch out the Molten belt for an Implosion belt. The attributes for your equipment should be Dominance and either Mana Pool or Speed. And don't forget to reforge your equipment to Strengthened unless you have the Terminator, in which case you want them on Waxed. Now into all of the extra items that can help you at any point along the way. Firstly, the Aspect of the End or the Aspect of the Void. These are some of the best mobility items in the game because they allow you to teleport a set amount of blocks for some mana. Next are the Healing Wands. There are 4 tiers of Healing Wands: the Wand of Healing, Mending, Restoration, and Atonement. These wands heal you for some health every second for 7 seconds. The Zombie Swords offer more rapid healing than the wands, so we'll go over them next. There are 3 variants, but we'll focus on the last 2. The Ornate Zombie Sword and the Florid Zombie Sword. These swords heal you every time you right click, but they have charges that have to regenerate before you can use them again. The Power Orbs are also very good for healing, and there are 4 tiers of them: the Radiant Power Orb, Mana Flux, Overflux, and Plasma Flux. These orbs can be placed down and will give you a bunch of different buffs while it's down. The Last Breath will reduce your target's defense by 10% every time you shoot it. The Wither Cloak Sword makes you take no damage at the cost of some of your mana every time you're hit. The Ice Spray Wand allows you to freeze mobs in place like mini bosses so you can easily kill them. The Gloomlock Grimoire allows you to either trade mana for health or health for mana. The Gyrokinetic Wand allows you to either split your team's incoming damage or pull mobs together. Jingle Bells aggro all nearby mobs. And finally, the Bonzo and Spirit Masks save your life whenever you're about to die. And if you have any questions, you can either leave them in the comments section or you can join my Discord server. Bye!